If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post a new Tom Brady video every day.
Here's one last one for you. Tom Brady. What about that one? What about that one, Rick?
Well, if they had Blaine and they had Kyle and some, second tier guy was here and we got to August or September even, or, right at the start of the season and Tom said he wants to play, they're going to absolutely own his rights. Sometime after June 1st, they're going to put him on the reserve retired list. He's going to count $8 million against the cap this year and $24 million against the cap in 2023. And if he wants to play, they believe, this is them talking now, they believe he would play here because at 45, does he really want to go to another team, learn a new offense, new players, all of that, or they know, or he knows, that the Bucs would do everything they can, mortgage more future, bring in any player he wants, and try to make another run at it.
How seriously you taking the Brady to San Fran rumors?
100% serious, because Brady basically told us on the Jim Gray podcast. He said, hey, would you consider coming back? And he said this, and he went over here, and he went over there. So, Coach, this is what I call the boa constrictor problem. Here's what the boa constrictor problem is. If you ask me, hey, Wilds, you thinking about getting another dog? I'd be like, we're happy with the dogs we have. I do love dogs, but it's not the right time. But if you ask me if I was going to get a boa constrictor for a pet, a 12-foot boa constrictor in the home, you know what I would say? Absolutely not. What other questions do you have? And until Tom Brady says absolutely not, I'm not coming back, he has left the door open to come back.
And to be honest, if Brady went to them, and there's a theory out there about this, and I don't know if it's true, but if Brady went to them and said, listen, I want to play for this team, not the Bucs, but another team, I think they would be so grateful for what he gave them for 2 years that the Glazer family would not hold him up. They would not say, hey, it's here or nowhere, bud. I watched Rich McKay walk out of here as a GM. One day he was the GM of the Bucs. They let him go to Atlanta, for God's sakes. And a week later, he was the GM of the Falcons playing in Raymond James. And again, it was gratitude for all he had done for them, getting the stadium, all that stuff. So I just know the Glazers. I don't think they would hold Tom up. And we all suspect that would be San Francisco. That would be the place that, he might want to have one last shot at it, his hometown team. But they don't believe that. They believe that if Tom were to change his mind, that he would play here.
He doesn't want to be with the Bucs for whatever reason. I think obviously the Patriots, although I would like them to come back, is out. I think the Josh McDaniels thing that you've pitched has a little bit of juice, but to me, the one sort of hill that he has to climb is to what? It would be cool to play for my hometown, the team that I rooted for growing up, and kind of bookend my career with exactly how I fell in love with football. So I'm taking this 100% seriously. I don't believe that he's retired. I do think we're going to see him in a uniform again, and it could very well be with the 49ers.
Wow. He is the greatest of all time, though, right? I mean, there's no doubt. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But I mean, this guy's career, what a career. And by the way, I still think, again, I don't know, you know more than me, I think he could do another season. I mean, he had a terrific season.
He could. I mean, look, he led the league in touchdown passes this season. He set a NFL record, most completions in the season.
And what about the concept of gear grinding that was happening over the last year, right? And I know Arians, and you had very strident quotes from him shooting down that he was gumming up the game plans that Brady was working on with Leftwich at the last moment, or red marking or something like that. I mean, what do you make of whatever was going on behind the scenes that you may be aware of that could discount Brady coming back? What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, the literal, redlining didn't happen for sure, and part of that narrative was that, Bruce was working on his Achilles in the morning, and Bruce doesn't work on his Achilles in the morning. So, the way this has worked since Bruce got here is that Byron Leftwich runs the offense. I mean, he does all of it. He's in at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Bruce was never going to do scripts. Bruce was never going to do game planning in the sense that you put together the plan for the entire week, et cetera. Now, he gets the game plan. He will look at it. He will tweak it. He will add to it. But he doesn't take things away generally. And as Brady was here, remember they were 7-5. It didn't look like the Bucs offense. They had a big, sort of meeting then, and BA was involved more. And they did some things, with Tom to make it more his offense, which is what we saw this past season. But Brady does the game planning as much as Leftwich does it with him. And so I don't think that's true. And Bruce was emphatic about that part of it.
Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, was upset, they report, that when Brady said, I'm leaving, he didn't mention the New England Patriots. And Bob Kraft was really upset by that. I would imagine Brady's kind of pissed at the New England Patriots. Seeing the kind of football he's still playing, they should have kept him for another 1 or 2 years, I think.
That was easy to say, but, that's 20 years. He was there for 20 years. That's a long time. And maybe you begin to look at what else is out there. I know one thing that Tom loved is the fact that he was able to go to a Southern team, practice in December outside, because you know how hard it is to practice in Foxborough in November and December. And I've been out there a bunch of times at their practices.
Anybody that has a boss, you don't always get along with them all the time, right? I mean, and there were things that happened last year that I'm sure upset Brady. I'm sure he didn't like the result, at least, of having Antonio Brown not on this roster. He needed another receiver. Godwin got hurt. The first game that Brown could have come back after the fake Vax card suspension was New Orleans. They lost 9-0. They were down 6-0 until the last minute or so. And within a span of 10 minutes, they lost 3 of their top players. Had Antonio Brown been around for that, that would have been great. But that was a suspension situation. And then, he does come back. He lights it up one game, 10 catches, 110 yards, gets Carolina. And the next week, he's mad at Tom. He's mad at everybody at halftime about not getting the ball enough. And then we saw what happened with the shirt off and the whole thing with the Jets. And it was messy. And the biggest thing is it took away a weapon. It hurt them. It hurt Tom. And it was just, there were things like that I'm sure he wasn't pleased with.
But why would that be the fault of the Bucs at all? Like, why would Brady not be happy? It's Antonio Brown's responsibility.
Exactly.
Whatever was going on with his ankle and, in the last couple of weeks, if Brady's upset at anything about what happened with Brown, all he's got to do is look to the gram or the tweet or whatever that Brown put out this week about the MRI proving that he was forced out on the field, and then he deleted it because it was people pointed out it was a year old what he popped up about his MRI. So why would Brady be upset about anything of the way that the Brown situation was handled?
I don't know that he was, other than that Brown was fired, right? Like, he's fired and fired immediately. Like, the first thing Bruce said after the game is he's out of here. And I don't know what other option Bruce had when he refused to play, et cetera.
He had a fabulous year. I don't know. I began to sense we did that game. I had him in the meeting before the game, and I said, do you think about a perfect ending? And he said, he hesitated. He said, it would include a Super Bowl, but I'm not sure it's this year. And then he kind of went back and forth. And I said on the air when we were talking about that conversation we had, I said, Tom was talking in switchbacks here and there and back and forth. So Chris and I felt, even though we didn't know for sure, that it was more likely that he would retire than not retire. But there's no question. The way he played this year, of course he could have played next year.
The coaches, I'm telling you, the coaches that work with him every day, work with Brady every day, never heard him come in and, say derogatory things about BA or I can't stand it. That just never happened. So that like I said, do you like everything people do? Could they have been, maybe more attention to detail in practice or the walkthroughs? If anything, Rich, he probably wanted more, right? He always wanted more. Maybe he wanted him to sign Odell Beckham Jr., who was a free agent at the time, and BA said, AB, OBJ, too many initials. Maybe he would have liked to seen them, trade away a 2 and a 3 for Von Miller, who hit him 9 times in that divisional playoff game.
Right.
He got his team. He brought him back from a 27-3 deficit and almost won the game against the Rams, and they would have put them in the championship game.
Tom has made mention that the Rams really went for it, and that's what the Bucs did a year ago. the Bucs just had so many injuries, and if not for some bad play calling and some bad execution at the end against the Rams, they win that game in overtime, and we're talking about another one of the greatest comebacks in playoff history with Tom Brady's.
Is Brady really gone? Because now there's a rumor he's going to come back and go back to New England.
The rumor is he'd go back and sign a contract for one day and get retired as a Patriot to go back and play.
Oh,
no, that's not going to happen.
I don't know where this gets started. I guess it's people around Brady. I mean, I don't. But the folks that I know that are around Brady and the folks that are around the Bucs think that this is like kind of a false narrative that he has any bad mojo or vibes about playing in Tampa. It's true the team's going to be different, but they would figure out the cap situation. They would bring as many guys back as they could. They'd draft whoever, get whoever, and I think Tom knows that. So, can we just accept that the guy's going to retire after 22 seasons? I think that's people want to blame him, blame somebody for that, and really it's Tom's choice.
You think he'll start broadcasting?
I think he will at some point. I'm not sure he will do that sooner than later. I think he may take a little bit of time right now to do whatever he wants to do.
What's your sense? Would he be any good at it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
You think
Tom's
so?
really smart. Yeah, Tom is smart. And again, he'd be the kind of guy like Peyton Manning. Manning would be terrific at this thing because Peyton absorbs things, gets things, understands it, knows what the forensics are all about. There are guys who are in the ex-jock business and guys who are in the broadcasting business. You got to think of yourself in the broadcasting and communications business. Peyton understands that. Brady will definitely understand that.
Well, I agree with you, Wild, that I don't think the door is completely shut. And I don't think that Tom was necessarily completely ready to retire, but he probably relented to family concerns and pressures and understands and appreciates the sacrifices that they've made. In terms of the fit in San Francisco, you could make the argument that he could appeal to his family for the opportunity to play for his hometown team, something that he's never been able to do. The thing that's difficult about that is when he goes to a place like San Francisco, it's the same issue that he had when he first got to Tampa Bay. It's not the system that he's run. It's not the system that he's been so good at and so effective in. So his ability to just step right in and produce the same results, it's not going to be able to happen. And how much would they be willing to change the system to accommodate him? That fit has got to work outside of just the fit of playing for his hometown team. I always go back to the idea of whether it's Josh McDaniels, whether it's the New England Patriots, maybe even the New York Giants, although the Giants are further away, going to a place where he can step in immediately and be effective in the system that he knows. That's his best opportunity to continue to be successful.
I hope he comes back. Like, I'm taking this report seriously because I want to. I desperately want Tom Brady to come back because we're journalists, broadcasters, storylines and drama are what we feed off of. So this would be a terrific storyline. And, Coach, look, obviously he went to Tampa Bay, and they won it in his first year. He didn't have his offseason to prepare. And, yeah, they tweaked things, as the season went on and then took off when he really got to make some adjustments. So I think the same thing could happen in San Francisco. I mean, if it's not going well early on in the season, I do think they would respect Brady enough to listen to him and make whatever changes he wanted to make. I think that story is delicious. All right, like Tom Brady in San Francisco, hometown team. And, Coach, I think you'd agree with this, the weapons galore. I mean, the receivers, you got Kittle at the tight end, you got a run game, the
NFC
defense.
favorites.
Total NFC favorites, and I think they'd actually be league favorites with Brady to win it. And then you got him trying to become the first quarterback ever to win it with 3 different teams. He'd win it with 3 different coaches. And that's where it also gets interesting because then he's now won it with 3 coaches. And Belichick, I assume next year they'll be okay, but not a Super Bowl team. And he will continue to kind of struggle without Tom Brady, and yet Brady's here flourishing with anybody you put on the sidelines next to him. So I just think that it would be awesome for us and awesome for football. So hopefully, Nick, this is legit and he does come back.
I'm a little surprised that Wildes doesn't think that the news this week of Joe Judge coaching quarterbacks in New England isn't going to pull Brady in. That Brady's not like, oh, man, I got to find a way to get there. Nothing whets my football appetite like that. And I do hope this happens because it's good for the league. I think it'd be so great to see Kyle Shanahan with a quarterback of Brady's caliber after having to deal with Garoppolo. And it would give Mahomes a chance to get even in a Super Bowl. If he comes back, I want him to stay in the NFC, so I want Mahomes to get another shot.
That's it for this video. I post a new Tom Brady video every day, so please like and subscribe. That way you'll always have a new Tom Brady video to watch every single day.